Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, to the members in the also to the world wide web. This is one of the most important meetings of the year, setting the budget, so you're welcome to stop. My name is Councillor Kevin Hamilton, and I'm the Mayor and Chairman of the Council. Just a few housekeeping rules. May I ask you first to remind you some of the domestic arrangements. It's important that all participants conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. Please put your mobile phones on silent. If any member or officer wishes to speak, please raise your hand via the raise hand facility in Zoom. If you're not speaking, please mute your microphone until invited to speak. Even if you're not speaking, you may still be shown on the screen, so please remember this when the meeting is being conducted, that you do not interrupt other speakers. If members do lose connection to the meeting, we'll adjourn for 10 minutes to assist them up to reconnecting. I'd like to remind everybody present that this meeting is being broadcast live to the internet. The whole of the meeting will be recorded except where there's confidential or exempt items. To note, to vote on matters, I'll ask the Democratic Services Manager to manage this process. At this point, members will be requested to unmute their microphones. After a brief pause, a mover and a seconder will be requested and a roll call of members will be undertaken. Please reply with I vote for, against, or abstain. Then please remute your microphone. That's a formalities over. Please proceed to today's business. First item on the agenda is apology for absence. So I will hand over Democratic Services Manager John Hook to do a roll call for members and officers present at this meeting. John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please could you say present when I ask your name? Councillors Oswald.
Present.
Barlow. Councillor Barlow.
Can you hear me?
Biggins.
Present.
Blizzard.
Present.
Brooke.
Present.
Burley.
Present.
Burns.
Present.
We have apologies from Councillor Callister. Cassidy.
Present.
Edwards D.
Present.
Edwards H.
Present.
Gorn.
Present.
Hall.
Present.
Hamilton.
Present.
Husband.
Present.
Johnston.
Present.
McClure.
Present.
McEwen.
Present.
McLeavy.
Present.
Maddox.
Present.
Mooney.
Present.
Morgan.
Present.
Knott.
Present.
Pemberton.
Present.
Preston.
Present.
Roberts.
Present.
Robson.
Present.
We don't seem to have Councillor Ronson present. Seward.
Present.
Shirley.
Present.
Thompson A.
Present.
Thompson C.
Present.
Wall.
Present.
Worthington.
Present.
Chief Executive.
Present.
Director Resources.
Present.
Director of People and Place.
Present.
Head of Legal and Governance.
Present.
Sharon Rushton.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, John. Agenda item 2, urgent items. There are no urgent items for tonight's meeting. Agenda item 3, declaration of interest. Do any members have any interest to declare? Can't see anybody.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Agenda item 5, announcements. Are there any announcements from the chairman, leader, or the head of paid service?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I've got an announcement. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Local government reorganisation. On Monday evening, we received confirmation that MHCLG is commencing consultation on proposals for local government reorganisation in Cumbria, which will include consultation on our proposal for the creation of the Bay Unitary Authority. Government is consulting on each of the proposals for local government reorganisation in Cumbria. 1, the Bay and North Cumbria. 2 unitaries in Cumbria, Eden, Carlisle and Allerdale, and then Copeland, Barrow and South Lakeland, as proposed by Carlisle and Eden councils, and Carlisle, Allerdale and Copeland, then Barrow, South Lakeland and Eden, as proposed by Allerdale and Copeland councils, and then a single unitary for Cumbria, as proposed by Cumbria County Council. Further, this council is also being consulted on proposals for local government reorganisation in North Yorkshire. The consultation will run till midnight on the 19th of April 2021 and is hosted on the government's online platform, Citizen Space. We will send links to all members for them to have their input on this consultation. The government is consulting with a large range of stakeholders. The consultation is open to any person or organisation wishing to express a view on local government reorganisation. The 3 councils will make all of our local stakeholders and communities aware and encourage their participation in this consultation. We encourage ward councillors to encourage their local residents and communities to respond to the consultation. The council will bring a draft of its consultation responses to the Executive Committee and the council for approval. Due to the timing of the consultation, we may need an additional meeting for this. Our websites provide links to the consultation and copies of all the relevant documents to the Bay and North Cumbrian consultation. It is the Secretary of State's intention to lay the necessary orders before Parliament to postpone local elections to principal authorities, by-elections to the principal councils, elections for the PCC and town and parish councils. PPC and town and parish councils will continue. We will keep members updated. I just have to say, having looked at the Citizen Space consultation document, it's got quite a lot of tick boxes, but there is other avenues. You can just send an email. There is an email address where you can just send an email with your views. You don't have to, and I don't think you have to tick every box in the, write in every box in the consultation. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Leader.
Mr. Mayor, can we just go back to item 4, please, the minutes?
Certainly can, John. I'm sorry about that. Agenda item 4. Do you agree with the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 26th of January 2021 as printed be approved as a correct record?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 6, public participation. Be no request to ask a question, make representations or present a deputation or petition to the meeting. Agenda item 7, to receive a report from the Executive Committee. Before I call on Councillor Brook, I would just remind members that with regard to the budget and the council tax setting, a recorded name vote is required on agreeing the budget setting. Council tax or issuing process. The same applies for any amendments that may be put forward. With that, I call upon the Chairman of the Executive Committee, Councillor Brook.
Right, thank you. Agenda item 7, the report of the exec. The report sets out the housing revenue account budget for the 21-22 financial year and provides details of the expected outturn budget and the balance for the current year. The budget proposals report sets out the decisions associated with the budget setting for 2021-22, and it also sets out the council tax requirement and the pay policy both for 2020-21. I can't get my head around these numbers, hang on. That should be 21-22. I move the report of the meeting of the Executive Committee held on the 10th of February 2021 be received and that each of the recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Well done. Is there a seconder?
Can I second it and reserve the right to speak, please?
Thanks, Councillor Roberts. Is there any questions or? There's
There aren't any,
no.
Mr. Mayor.
Pardon?
There aren't any.
No. Would you still like to speak, Lee?
Yes, please. Firstly, I know because the budget it came to exec, and normally you get a plethora of people thanking Sue what to do at this point. So we're getting first. Setting a budget's in any year is obviously difficult, but this year incredible time pressure on the council, and the complexity of the budget must have been immense. And as you've seen, the budget of the COVID business grants being paid out, it must have been a Herculean task. So thanks again to Sue for outstanding work, especially after the year we've had. The council tax increase, it's a difficult one for us because our values probably mean we don't want to do raise council tax increases if we can avoid it, but because in my opinion, it's not the way to fund the council. It isn't fair, in my opinion. Raising councils raising their own taxes through council tax and business rates. It's not a fair way to do it. I think it says in the budget report the estimates for core spending for local government is 4.5% increase, for Barrow it's 3.7%. So we're falling behind again. Now with core spending formula, normally you have a deprivation formula built into that, which means areas like ours will should benefit, just smooth it out. So where areas have got greater need or less ability to raise local funding through the council tax, like here where a lot of our properties are the lower council tax band, we haven't got as many businesses for business rates, it should smooth it out. So it should level up, to be honest. So it doesn't, and it doesn't work. But so that's the dilemma we have now. Any other year, we might plan to try and do something different. This year, it's a bit difficult. COVID recovery, on top of all the things we wanted to do, the changes we're making. We've got a lot in the pipeline, a lot of work underway. We need to fund this. We need to make sure we get all this delivered, because it will impact positively on all our residents, particularly the ones with issues that we want to hit, like poverty, health inequalities, and climate change as well. So I just want to quickly list some of the things we're doing, because we're very aware we don't want to raise council tax, but we're putting it to good use. It's the only way we can raise our core budget, add to our core budget. So Poverty Truth Commission, Barrow's new constellation, asset-based community development, which will place a lot of responsibility and ability for residents to be involved and control what happens in their communities. Safer streets, community cohesion. We need to address a climate emergency by low carbon Barrow. We've got Townsdale projects to deliver, which takes a lot of resources, as you can imagine. Heritage Action Zone as well, similar. The High Street Fund we didn't get, but we've still got those packages of work, those proposals ready to go as soon as we get some opportunity to fund it. And other things, delivering our council plan and the Growing Forward report are very important. So on top of the pandemic recovery, I think all that work that's going on, that's a core, the core function of our budget is to actually deliver all this and have an impact to our residents and put residents at the heart of everything we do. We're inverting how things work here and how we deliver services. So this is part of making our brilliant Barrow for brilliant Barrovians, old ones and new. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well said. Councillor Burns has raised her hand. Anne?
Thank you. And I really wasn't going to say anything, but I just can't let this go past without saying something about how this council has struggled over a number of years to actually get a proper budget in place. I've just got to say we've had some fantastic officers doing a tremendous amount of work in trying to get this budget out and about. I mean, Sue and her team have done some tremendous work there in what they're doing. This authority has got a fabulous programme to put in place. We're working towards everything that Lee said. I think the programme there in levelling up, in actually making sure our residents are at the heart of everything we do is so important that we do that in a place like Barrow. We are a unique place. We do live at the end of a cul-de-sac, and we do have some really fantastic issues going out in our community, and real community work going on, and people really care about each other. But we cannot get away from the fact for the last 10 years, we've had nothing but cuts, cut after cut after cut. And austerity is not finished. It's still going to happen to us. And the way that areas like Barrow have been treated, because we have got that low property band, that low property rate, you know, our tax base is going to be low, and we absolutely need that levelling up finances to have a fair and equal say in our community, has that fairness and equality to put the services in place that supports them. So I've got to say to Lee and to the team, they've done a fabulous amount of work. Our officers are working so hard, and they do an enormous amount of work, and you know, great that we see that. But we cannot keep going year after year with cuts in budget the way it is doing. They always said when the poll tax was brought in that this was shifting the tax base from central government to local government, and now we can see that happening, and it isn't good because our tax base is low. So just to echo what Lee said, fabulous work going on, fabulous amount of work from our officers, and we've got nothing but praise for that. But the tax base must be looked at, and we cannot keep going on year after year with cuts in our budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Burns. Just before I ask John to do the roll call for the vote, I'm the same as everybody else, but I leave it to the leader of the council to thank the officers. But before that, I'd like to acknowledge the housing staff. As you know, quite rightly so, I'm the chairman of the housing. And I think for the last 4 years, we've had a reducing rent by 1% for the last 4 years. And to put it up by £1.19, what an achievement, and still keep the programmes going. 150 renewals for the central heating, new roofs going up and whatever. So I'd like to pay, and I'm sure the members do, thank our housing staff as well for what's been going on. Can I ask John to do the roll call, please, the votes, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion has been moved by Councillor Brooke and seconded by Councillor Roberts. Please reply with for, against, or abstain. Councillors Oswald?
For.
Barlow?
For.
Biggins?
For.
Blessard?
For.
Brooke?
For.
Burley?
Abstain.
Burns?
For.
Cassidy?
For.
Edwards D?
Abstain.
Edwards H?
Abstain.
Vaughan?
Abstain.
Paul?
Abstain.
Hamilton?
For.
Husband?
For.
Johnston?
For.
McClure?
Abstain.
McEwen?
For.
McLeavy?
Abstain.
Maddox? Councillor Maddox?
For.
Mooney?
For.
Morgan?
For.
Not?
For.
Pemberton? Councillor Pemberton?
Abstain.
Preston?
For.
Roberts?
For.
Robson?
For.
Seward?
For.
Shirley?
Abstain.
Thompson A?
4. 4.
Thompson C,
4.
Wall,
4.
Worthington,
Abstain.
sorry. Twenty-three for, 0 against, 10 abstentions. That's carried.
Thanks, John. Agenda item 8, setting the council tax for the year commencing the 1st of April 2021. I call upon the leader of the council, Councillor Ann Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Oh, my picture's gone off. Sorry about that. My picture went off. I mean, I've got a habit of putting my cursor, keeping my cursor when I switch it on and off. Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Setting of the council tax for the year commencing the 1st of April 2021. The purpose of this agenda item is to approve the calculation to set the council tax for 2021-2022. The report calculates the council tax requirement in accordance with changes made by the Localism Act 2011, which made significant changes to the Local Government Finance Act 1992. The report notes the council's own council tax requirement and the precepts of the 3 parish councils, the details of the collection of the fund balance, the general government grants and the tax basis for the whole borough and parish areas. Applying this information, the Borough Council's basic tax for a Band D dwelling has been calculated. Amounts of the council tax for the 8 valuation bands have then been calculated by applying the appropriate proportions to this basic amount of tax for the parish areas of Dalton and Newton, Askham and Isleth, Lindell and Martin, and to the unparished area of Barrow. The report also deals with the precepts and amounts of council tax required by Cumbria County Council and the Police and Crime Commissioner following their budget meetings. In this respect, I formally move to approve the formal council tax resolutions as detailed in section 3.8 of the report. Thank you. I formally move that. And have I got a seconder, please?
That's supposed to be me saying that.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I went above my station there, so I apologise most sincerely, Mr. Mayor.
You're forgiven.
No, thank you.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Lee. The debate's open, so any questions or no questions? Should we move straight on to the recorded vote?
Councillor Edwards has her hand up, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Hazel, I can't see. You must be on the screen. Hazel?
Yeah, it's okay. There's that many things to look at, Kevin. In abstaining tonight on the budget, I'd like to qualify why. As Conservatives, our priorities on expenditure would be very different in some areas. Sue Roberts, our Director of Resources, has done an impossible job this year presenting your budget because of COVID. But the government has poured many grants into the council to alleviate financial problems. This has resulted in little increase in our portion of the residents' council tax. Any increase is thanks to the county council. In order to spend money, we as a council must generate money. We need to consider our businesses more carefully and think how we can assist them to prosper. Without business in Barrow, there will be no money to allocate further. Grants will stop soon, and new areas of the community that are increasingly being funded will need to be sustained. We need to plan carefully not just spend.
Thanks. So I have Ian Mooney, Ben Shirley, and is anybody else I'm missing? Ian?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it's completely immoral, really, that the financial burden of this government's mistakes are being pushed onto working people once again, and our most deprived communities. During the pandemic, Oxfam estimated that the richest in society gained a staggering £2.85 trillion, while the International Labour Organization estimates that workers have lost £2.7 trillion just in the last year. Last year saw a forced council tax rise again for more police to plug the 20,000 staff cut under this government. We still wait for this to materialise. It's disappointing that the responsibility has again been pushed onto local councils, especially after years of facing cuts in funding and cuts to vital services. Obviously, this went to Parliament as well, but the Tories in Parliament took the cowardly way out by abstention. Despite this, we will continue to support these services locally and our residents. Council staff have worked hard to create fantastic resilience groups to protect our community, and we have managed to fight off the need to outsource services and focus on issues such as mental health, well-being, and helping the most vulnerable in our borough. We are a service, not a business. Why should our residents be told there is no money when the government can waste 22 billion on failed contracts for their friends, such as Track and Trace? For reference, last week, NASA landed on Mars, and their mission cost a total of 2.4 billion, a fraction of what our government has wasted on just one failed contract. We must ensure that any rise in council tax today is directly redistributed back into services that benefit the very residents who are paying for them.
Thanks, Ian. Councillor Shirley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just like to echo comments of colleagues in praising the Section 151 officer and her team, and thanking all officers involved for producing a balanced budget this year on behalf of our residents. Mr. Mayor, I also want to pay tribute to Askham and Isleth Parish Council, Dalton Town Council, and Lindell and Martin Parish Council, who operate in my ward of Dalton North. And particular note, Askham and Isleth Parish Council this year have actually reduced their precepts so that council taxpayers in Askham and Isleth and Sandscale will indeed be paying less next year, or have a lower rise than they otherwise would if their council tax had stayed the same or been increased, which is welcome. So I hope that council notes and acknowledges the contribution that unpaid voluntary councillors make in our community. And I'd just like to make that comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Ben. Councillor
Mr.
McEwen?
Mayor, sorry to interrupt, but Councillor Les Hall has been thrown off. I don't know if he's got back on again.
Is that?
I'm now back.
You're back. Sorry, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Les. I'm sorry, I didn't realise you'd gone.
The circuit breaker tripped and a bulb went and it kicked my internet off.
Right, we're welcome back. Councillor McEwen?
Thank you. Yeah, I just think she's doing all stuff as well for the great work she's done and the housing stuff, as you said, Chair. But I mean, of course we don't want to increase tax. Why do we have to? Because years of Tory government ruling left us no choice. Tory ministers failed to full cash-strapped councils, widening their financial black holes year after year. So we have to save social care services and the other services. Now, where do we begin with all this? Because years and years of bloody Tory governments, of course. Let's start with Thatcher. She killed off the working classes with no chance there. Then with a wee bit of a lull, we had Major, he came in. Okay, not bad, but not too good. Then came the gruesome twosome, Osborne and bloody comedian, if there ever was one. Stronger, better together, their slogan. Oh yeah, stronger together. What a laugh that was. Osborne, the man who got benefits cut, 12 billion in 2015, bedroom tax raised, very little money came off of that. caused a lot of heartache for people. But universal credit for the year benefit freeze, disabled people being subject to unjust tests, saved 3 billion. Appeals welcome, but not a penny saved. And then what do we have after that? We have the dancing queen, Margaret Thatcher herself. She came in. She sacked Boy George. No surprise there. There was a man who thought he could put things right. What a legacy he's left is mistake after mistake. Theresa May, she became the PM. She didn't do any better than her predecessors, did she? When she was Home Secretary, she made a mistake Margaret Thatcher never made. She got the Treasury to demand cuts to the police budgets, costing us in 2015 and 2016, 20,000 police taken off the streets. Now we pay precept tax to get them back on again. We're not getting extra police, we're bringing back on what we can, but we've got to suffer for it. So no problem. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thanks, Bill. Councillor Burns.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to pick up on what Councillor Edwards has said there about supporting businesses and the cheek to say that her government will support businesses. We've got businesses that, I mean, I know we're in a difficult situation at the moment, but businesses have been going to the wall over the past 5, 6, 7 years that have not been supported. If your government want to support businesses, why have they kept raising business rate the way they is? We don't deal with business rate. That comes from central government. And one of the issues you could actually do in supporting small businesses is look at the business rate that is being charged by central government. And I think, you know, if we want to start supporting it and want to start talking about rates and taxations, start looking at that for a start. Start giving small businesses that are operating in town centres a business rate cut or a holiday to make sure that they can stabilise the business they've got. And to pick up on what Ian Mooney was saying, it is a fact that, Hancock's under a lot of pressure, isn't he, to come clean about some of the contracts that have been handed out to some of his friends as pub landlords around the corner and people like that, getting millions out of some of these contracts that have been handed out. And that money is not coming back into this country. It's sitting in bank accounts elsewhere so that they don't pay tax on that. And it's absolutely come out today that Serco, who were handed the contract for test and trace, have made a staggering £400 million in profit. And today they've announced that they're giving £17 million of that to shareholders in the Serco. If that's supporting our local people and our local economy, then for God's sake, let's get back to some normality. I know this tragedy happened and we had to do a lot of things that perhaps we shouldn't have done, but let's play fair. Things are not happening fairly and squarely and open and honestly in this country, and it's about time that this government were called out for some of the issues that are happening in this country. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Al. Any further questions? No, I can't see any. Would you like to reply?
Councillor Nott's got his hand up, Mr. Mayor.
Steve?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, well, I mean, I just wanted to add, you know, this government said they'd look after councils and ensure money was available for them to support residents and local businesses throughout the pandemic. The pandemic's still going on, and yet clearly that was yet another lie, as they're forcing a council tax rise onto councils such as ours, leaving us with no choice if we're to balance the books and continue to deliver the excellent services we do than to raise the council tax, which will sadly impact many vulnerable people severely in this area that's already seen cuts to the annual budget of nearly 50% before the COVID pandemic. And let's not forget, this rise only really keeps us at a standstill. We as a borough are constantly playing catch up after years of financial robbery from Conservative governments. 10 years of Conservative austerity pre-COVID hammered this area, and it's usually ironic that Conservative members, previous council meetings have often like to talk about how when Labour are in government, they spend all the money and leave huge debt. It's a well-worn myth and should be put to bed permanently. With the statistic that since coming to power in 2010, the national debt's more than doubled. They've increased the national debt in the 10 years pre-COVID to more than every Labour government combined. And let's not even start with the huge mismanagement of funds and awarding of contracts during this pandemic as Councillor Mooney alluded to. Billions wasted that could have gone towards supporting residents in boroughs like ours. So I supported the council tax rise with a heavy heart, but to reiterate, because I feel there's no other option, and I can only applaud, and I'd like to end on this, only applaud and thank the former Labour councils over recent years and all the council office staff for the miracles they've worked and continue to work to make the budget work to any degree. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor McLeavy.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick one. Let's not forget we've had 4 general elections since 2010 and Labour are still not in power.
Thanks, Martin.
Don't we know it?
No. Is anybody else I'm missing, Sean?
I can't see anyone.
Well, if that's the case, I call upon the leader of the council to answer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's with a heavy heart we put the council tax up this year. We know people are suffering, and there's going to be more suffering when furlough stops, because you know there's going to be massive redundancies, and we're going to really hit rock bottom in the town. The town at the moment is still reeling. We've lost Debenhams, we've lost Marx's. We don't know how many shops will reopen, businesses will reopen when the pandemic's over and they can reopen. You know, it's going to be really, really hard. But we've got a council here who really cares. They care about businesses, they care about the residents, and they want to put them first. And I really believe that the team we've got with the council, the officers, and the people that really support us, we will go forward and we will make this town brighter, we will make it better, simply because we've got the will there. We've got the commitment, we've got the passion, and we all love Barrow. And I think that is the way, with the programmes we're putting in place now, which will move forward over the next 2 years till obviously reorganisation hits us in the face. We will make Barrow a better place, and that will show, because people will really realise that this Labour Council really cares about the residents. They really care. They want to put the residents first. You know, we want to put people first. We don't want to build things that people don't want. All we want to do is make their lives better and treat them with love, care, compassion, kindness and love. And I think this Labour Council will go on and do that. And we will go on in the couple of years left before we are reorganised into a unitary authority. We will do our utmost to try and level up and try and stamp out the inequalities that are rampant in Barrow. And I think this Labour Council has done remarkably well. With a heavy heart, we have to put the council tax up. But as far as I'm concerned, it's onwards and upwards, and we will carry on in our vein, putting our residents first and doing our best. Thank you.
Thanks. And I can't see anybody disagreeing with that, and spoken with passion. I will now ask the Democratic Services Manager to take a roll call, please.
The motion has been moved by Councillor M.A. Thompson, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Please reply with for, against or abstain. Councillors Oswald?
For.
Councillor Barlow?
For.
Biggins?
For.
Lezard?
For.
Brooke?
For.
Burley?
Abstain.
Burns?
Make it up, could you?
For.
Cassidy?
For.
Edwards D?
Abstain.
Edwards H?
Abstain.
Gorn?
Abstain.
Hall?
Abstain.
Hamilton? Mr. Mayor?
For.
Husband?
For.
Johnston?
For.
McClure?
Abstain.
McEwen?
For.
McLeavy?
Abstain.
Maddox? Mooney?
For.
Morgan,
For.
Not,
For.
Pemberton,
Abstain.
Preston,
For.
Roberts,
For.
Robson,
For.
Seward,
For.
Shirley,
Abstain.
Thompson,
For.
Thompson C,
For.
Wall,
For.
Worthington,
Abstain.
that's carried. 22 for, 0 against, 10 abstentions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, John. Can I remind members to mute your computers, please? Agenda item number 9, appointment of independent person. I call upon the leader of the council, Councillor Anne Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Localism Act 2011, called after this in brackets the Act, created the role of independent person who must be consulted at various stages of the process when dealing with allegations of misconduct by district or parish councillors. This report asks council to consider the appointment of an independent person and reserve independent person in accordance with the Act for Code of Conduct matters and matters relating to officer employment procedural rules. I move that the council appoints Peter Kewitt as independent person and Steve Forster as reserve independent person, as detailed in the report, on the basis of a fixed term of up to 4 years, 2 years with delegation to the monitor officer in consultation with the chair, vice chair of audit and governance committee to extend for a further 2 years. I so move, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
I'll
I'll
second it.
second. I was going to say I'll second that, Chair.
Which one are you choosing, John?
Councillor Burns.
Councillor Burns. So the debate is open. Is there any questions? Have we missing anybody, Sean?
Nobody's indicated, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I will ask you to take the roll call, please, John.
Yes, thank you. The motion has been moved by Councillor May Thompson and seconded by Councillor Burns. Please reply with for, against or abstain. Councillors Oswald.
For.
Barlow. Councillor Barlow. Thank you. Councillor Biggins.
For.
Lazard.
For.
Brooke.
For.
Burley.
For.
Burns.
For.
Cassidy.
For.
Edwards D.
For.
Edwards H.
For.
Gorn.
For.
Ball.
For.
Hamilton.
For.
Husband.
For.
Johnston. Councillor Johnston.
For.
McClure.
For.
McEwen.
For.
McLeavy.
For.
Maddox. Mooney.
For.
Morgan.
For.
Not.
For.
Pemberton.
For.
Preston.
For.
Roberts.
For.
Robson.
For.
Seward.
For.
Shirley.
For.
Thompson A.
For.
Thompson C. Wall.
For.
Worthington.
For.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. With that, the business for tonight is closed. Can I formally end tonight's proceedings, please?